we are going to talk about attracting more abundance now. And specifically, this presentation is going to help you demystify some of the challenges that specifically prevent us from manifesting more money. I hear all the time that people can manifest parking spots or partners or dream homes. Most women struggle with manifesting more money consistently. So we'll talk about what's going on there today. And your brain is wired to survive, not to thrive. And this is a remnant from caveman living. And it really comes to the fact that your brain is hyper focused on survival. If you were in a caveman tribe and a snake came in and bit someone and they died, your life and your family's life depends on you remembering exactly what that snake looked like. So we take these tiny little negative things that might lead to our survival and we emphasize and blow them up and amplify them. So we are really, really, really focused on fear and negative things in our life and not what we need to bring us the most joy. And your brain is literally hardwired in this way to keep you safe. But safe means stuck where you are exactly right now because it's safe. You've survived it so far, even if it's not to your preference. And so, if you would like to receive more abundance, you get to reprogram your brain, increase your receiving limitations, which is just saying allowing yourself to receive more money, and calming your nervous system. And today, we're going to talk about that first bullet point on how to rewire your brain for more abundance. And the very interesting thing is your brain filters information that proves your beliefs and worst fears right. So let's talk about what that means. You can only see 0.000003% of all of the information that exists in your environment. This means 99.999997% of the information is blocked. So what do I mean by that is right now my skin, all of my skin cells can feel where my clothes are. My other skin cells can feel the temperature of the room. I can see all the colors around me. I hear and taste and smell. And even our extrasensory perceptions are all giving information to my brain at once. Well, if our brain got all that information, we'd be overwhelmed. Just waking up, we'd be in a catatonic state trying to process all of the information we're getting. So our subconscious makes these programs through pattern recognition of patterns that support us. And it's the reason why when we put on a watch for the first time, we're like, wow, that's heavy. Then the next day when you put it on, or maybe you never took it off, you don't even feel it anymore. And in fact, you feel naked without it. It's because your brain stopped filtering out information from the watch. It's also the reason why babies don't like to wear socks and shoes. Their filter in their brain isn't fully formed yet. So their brain is flooded with information when you put socks on their little feet. So it's amazing that our brain can filter information. And we know these numbers because of a study in the 1950s. They found that there are 5 billion bits of information per second happening at your brain at all times. And this is in the 1950s when TV was one channel for a few hours a day, no color, no cell phones, no real marketing and advertising like we understand it to be right now. Can you even imagine how much information our brain is getting now? Anyways, anybody want to take a guess in the chat with how many bits of information per second your brain can actually process? Just throw some numbers out there if you want to. Out of 5 billion. 2000, love it. 40, 200, amazing. Your brain can process 126 bits per second out of 5 billion, which is why this 0.0003% of information that is filtered. And I put a picture of a Jeep because this is a beautiful example of how your brain's filter works and how you can change it dynamically based on what you want. When I was looking to buy a Jeep, yeah, no wonder we're all exhausted and overwhelmed all of the time. We're basically bombarded with information we can't process. When I went to go buy a Jeep, all of a sudden, all I could see on the road was Jeeps. They were everywhere. And that is an example of how information suddenly became relevant to me. So I shifted my brain's filter and allowed more information to come in, specifically that the Jeeps are everywhere. So I can only imagine how much information our brain is bombarded with in today's day and age of advertising. You read an article and there's ads on the top, the sides, and the bottom. So our brain is literally being bombarded. So the question becomes, what's the information that your brain is actually allowing to pass through this filter? And it's whatever you believe is true, consciously or subconsciously. If we believe that money flows to us easily, effortlessly, and frequently, then that's the information we allow through the filter. But if conversely we believe it's so hard to make money, nobody's making buying decisions in this economy, things like that, that's all we're going to be able to see. And it's actually a double whammy. There's more information later. Another way that your brain prevents you from receiving information or receiving abundance. And so while mantras and affirmations are absolutely amazing and I love them, money flows to me with ease is one of my favorite affirmations that I just have written on sticky notes. It's one of the things I repeat to myself. And this works on a conscious level. I highly recommend mantras and affirmations. They're amazing. But all of our money blocks and limitations are subconscious. They're on a lower. And we have this unconscious addiction to scarcity. And this is really comes from any money challenges we've ever had, but we get really focused on money going out and not enough money coming in. But when that's what you believe is true, that's all that you can see. So you're not going to see when you receive money easily, or when more than enough comes in a certain moment. You're going to be hyper focused on the details that prove you right, that too much money is going out and not enough money is coming in. And the news and the media certainly are not helping us in this situation when they're talking about the economy and all of these things. And the world is a scary place and the price of gas. I mean, it just reinforces this idea that it's a scarce universe. But I want to let you in on a secret. We live in a naturally abundant universe. Look at nature. An entire forest can grow from one seed. We have an abundance of air, an abundance of water, and all of these things, and an abundance of grass, and all of these amazing things in nature show us that it's a naturally abundant universe. But our brain filters information that blocks our ability to even see the money coming in. And it also blocks us being able to receive that money coming in. And part of this becomes because our emotional frequency is what drives manifestation the most. And our emotional frequency, when we're hyper focused on scarcity, is a frequency of about 100 hertz, but the frequency of abundance is 888 hertz. So if you want to manifest more money, let me give you a visual example. I don't have time to get into this chart. Dr. David Hawkins wrote about this in Power versus Force. Highly recommend this book. Each emotion has its frequency. That's the number on the left. But when we're in this place of fear, that's about 100 hertz. And if we want to manifest, we got to move all the way up on this chart. If you look, it's a little bit easier to see because this arrow blocks it, but at 500 there's a little tiny box that says dissolves negativity. That is when abundance starts to become effortless, when our regular frequency is above 500 or above, which is in being in love, joy, and peace. So one thing I want to share really briefly is you might notice that the most important emotion of all actually isn't on this chart. Enlightenment actually has something like 26 emotions nestled in there, authenticity, and among others. Gratitude is 900 hertz, and abundance is 888 hertz. So those are the two closest, and gratitude's not really, or sorry, abundance really isn't an emotion, but it is a frequency that we can hold. It's a feeling that we can have. So literally 888 hertz and 900 hertz are the closest two emotions. So if you want to receive more abundance, being grateful for the abundance you already have, the abundance of air, water, the abundance of love, ability to network with amazing women, and the abundance of information you can find online, you do live in a naturally abundant universe. So when you can have gratitude for that, you literally put your emotions in the frequency or the vibration of gratitude, which helps put you in this place where you're manifesting with ease. And we talked about how your brain prevents you from being able to see the money you're receiving, but it actually blocks you from being able to receive in general. Because your subconscious mind has two jobs: keep you alive, which we already talked about, and prove you right. And if you have these scarcity thoughts and beliefs, we actually prevent ourselves from receiving money unconsciously. And this is a big trap people find themselves in around money and manifestation. I would say 95% of everyone I've ever talked to about manifestation says, I just need to figure out what's the one thing that's stopping me. But the problem is when you're always focused on the blocks that are on your path to manifestation, it's like running a marathon, but only looking at your feet. We want to look at the finish line. And where this gets really dangerous in manifesting abundance is we start to get obsessed with the idea of fixing ourselves. When I feel worthy, then I can have the money I desire. And you'll either spend the rest of your life trying to feel worthy, or you'll cure your worthiness and then it'll be something else, because when you're a problem solver, everything is a problem. And so when we have this idea that we have to change something about us to receive more abundance, we block ourselves from receiving it. And I'm here to tell you that you're divinely perfect in this moment. There's nothing you have to change about yourself. We just need to shift how you think about things and maybe some actions that you're taking to receive more abundance. But you're perfect. You don't need to change. And honestly, the problem is not what you think around manifesting abundance. Money needs an assignment. So oftentimes I hear from people saying, I'm going to save up this money and then I'll invest in XYZ. And I'm not necessarily, it's great to save money and all of that. But when you're like, I'm going to save up the money and then I'm going to hire the coach, the problem is that money like doesn't want to go sit in an account and wait. And so when you're waiting to take the actions that you have a full body yes that these actions or this action is aligned, but you wait to take it, you actually delay yourself in receiving the money. And so I oftentimes, like when I'm signing people up for my retreat or other things, and they're like, I don't know how I'm going to I don't know how I'm going to pay for this overall. I'm like, let's do a deposit of, I don't know, $100 and commit to doing this. And you would be surprised how many people have manifested $6,000 from their insurance as overpayments, and all of this magical money rains from the sky, oftentimes in significantly more than they need, because their money had an assignment and it was to support them in making an aligned choice. And so if you want to create more abundance, money needs an assignment. And honestly, you don't even know what you want. And this hangs a lot of people up because they're like, oh no, I do know what I want. I want to have this money so I can feel safe and comfortable. But unfortunately, what we think we know what we want, but most of what we want is either A, an illusion. We want money because it'll make us feel safe, or a reaction. We want money because we're sick and tired of being broke and not having enough abundance. So oftentimes when I ask people, if you won $1 million today and you have to spend it immediately, but you can't invest it in a retirement or a savings account, you can't pay off debt, you can't give it away, how would you spend your money? The answer to that question is your real desire. That's what you want to manifest. And so we want to dig into, well, why do you want that specific thing? What does it mean to you? Because oftentimes we think that we want more abundance, but we don't want money. If you wanted money, you would want money because you want to swim in a swimming pool of money. Like, that's not what we want what money is going to get us. And we chase money. Money is an illusion that just prevents us from actually going for what we want. And I have a beautiful example of this. We reorganized our home recently, and we were looking for a new TV. I'm really into board games, so we were looking for a board game table, and like a small couch to go in our newly redefined family area. And we were looking at kind of shopping for these things, but we were also excitedly showing off this newly redesigned and renovated space to our friends. And one of our friends was like, "Oh my gosh, my parents are moving out of their house and they're wanting to get rid of things. They have an entire giant 12-foot table with 8 chairs that are really nice, extremely expensive, very nice table, and a perfect size TV and a little love seat they're trying to get rid of. Would you want it?" And we were just like, yes, please, because we weren't focused on making the money to get what we want. We were just ready to receive those items directly. So in that way, you don't need to chase money. You can just go after what you want. And again, money makes us feel like we might be safe or stable or secure. But honestly, people who worry about money when they have $5 worry about money when they have 500,000, or sorry, $5 million, because their orientation to money is that they worry. It's not that the money changes that. They still worry no matter how much money they have. So you want whatever the money is actually going to get you, with the caveat that it needs to be a real desire. If you want to manifest money or just the thing directly, like we did with that board game table, it's a real desire is something you want because you want it. There's no other reason or hidden agenda, which is why I have a picture of a sailboat. A couple years ago, I was able to manifest 14,000 unexpected dollars, which $6,000 of that was sidewalk money and random. It was outside of my business. $8,000 was inside my business, but $6,000 was people literally like walking up on the street and giving me money for no reason. It sounds crazy, but it happened because I was committed that I was going to go to this trip and rent a sailboat and sail around the Mediterranean in Greece. And I wanted to go to Greece and live on a sailboat because I wanted to go to Greece. That's it. And because it was a real desire, it was easy for me to generate the funds. And every time money would come in, we're like, great, we're going to invest we're doing the deposit on the sailboat. Now we're going to buy our hotel and our plane tickets and things like that. So I would encourage you, when you want to manifest more abundance, to actually stop thinking about the money and focus on what you want. Is there a way that you can have what you want now in a tiny little way? If what you want is a lake house, could you rent a lake house? Could you find a friend that has a lake house? Could you just spend time exploring beautiful lakes in whatever country you're choosing to live? In that way, you're having a tiny bit of what you want now. And when you have the identity, even if it's only for a few days as you rent a property on a lake, you build the identity of somebody who's a lake person, that they get to spend time around a lake. And when you have an identity of what you want, it's a lot easier to create it. So I will leave you with this: how to reprogram your brain to receive more abundance. Step one is figure out what you really want. And again, that can sometimes be the most challenging part. Step two is reprogram your brain to find it in your life right now, or to create an experience of it right now. So I often tell my clients and friends to start gathering evidence that it already exists. If what you want is more abundance, gather evidence by celebrating every penny you find on the sidewalk, because that is one step closer to abundance. Celebrate all of the abundance of air that you have in your life, all of the abundance of love that you have in your life, because you're putting yourself in the frequency of abundance, proving to your brain you already are abundant. Step three, we didn't get too much time to talk about that today, but we want to build the identity of a wealthy person so that it is safe to receive more money. And step number four is get into action. And honestly, any action that you think might get you closer to what you want, even if you're not sure, is a great action to take. So it has been my pleasure to be here with you today. I absolutely am so passionate and excited about talking about manifestation. And really, what I love to do is to help people upgrade their identity to feel more wealthy, reprogram their brain using neuroscience and quantum physics, shift their emotions, calm their nervous system, and help them get crystal clear on their heart's deepest desire, what they really want, so that they can become a manifesting machine. So if you would love to learn more about how you can be a manifesting machine, I have a free 30-minute discovery call. And here I'll pop the information in the chat. The formatting's funny, but um, uh, there in this call, I will help you decipher what's really holding you back in manifestation, and I will support you in some tips and share with you how I can support you in being a manifesting machine.